Good morning to you on this Wednesday morning. It's June the 17th. We are out of the section on every good endeavor. We have to stop, we can stop talking about working. Today's devotion is entitled The Idolatry of Power. Luke 14:11. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Reinhold Niebuhr was a prominent American theologian of the mid 20th century. He believed all humans struggle with a sense of being dependent and powerless. The original temptation in the Garden of Eden was to resent the limits God had put on us. You shall not eat of the tree, Genesis 2:17, and to seek to be as God by taking power over our own destiny. We gave in to this temptation, and now it's part of our nature. Rather than accept our finitude and dependence on God, we desperately seek ways to assure ourselves that we still have power over our own lives. But this is an illusion. Niebuhr believed this cosmic insecurity creates a quote, a will to power that dominates our social and political relationships. In any culture in which God is largely absent, sex, money, and politics will fill the vacuum for different people. This is the reason that our political discourse is increasingly ideological and polarized. Many describe the current poisonous public discourse as a lack of bipartisanship, but the roots go much deeper than that. As Niebuhr taught, they go back to the beginning of the world, to our alienation from God, and to our frantic efforts to compensate for our feelings of cosmic nakedness and powerlessness. The only way to deal with all these things is to heal our relationship with God. Power is an idol. People crave it. We see that as Tim Keller tells us here. We see it more and more and more. Every you look back through history, and it was always about people wanting power, wanting to control, wanting to be in charge of all that kind of stuff grows to the point where it becomes poisonous for your soul, and it becomes poisonous for the people you're trying to rule over and control. And that was something I recognized early. I love history, always have, and it had dawned on me one time watching a movie that men who get into office and they are dictator types, they put their pictures everywhere. Hitler had his pictures everywhere. He wanted people to give him the big Sieg Heil salute and basically treat him like a god and put him in charge. And they trusted him. That was the crazy thing for me back in the earlier days of my life. Why do people follow a man like that? He doesn't care about them. He wants to use them for his own purposes. And that power, we can go back into the Old Testament, king after king after king, in Israel as well as in the nations around them. They wanted to control. They wanted to be, as we used to say, the BMOC, the big man on campus, and have people bow down to him, build idols. The Persian kings did that, build idols of themselves that you were supposed to bow down and worship. Daniel didn't do it, got him in trouble. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't do it, got them in trouble because they were expected to worship this human, but worship him as an idol. Power. Power, I'm trying to remember now who said this, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think if we've paid attention over the years to the history of our world, there's always at least a handful of those types trying to do that. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You're destroyed internally. You look in the mirror and oh, look at that awesome power that I have over not just my own people, but every country and around my country and all of those kinds of things. And it becomes worshiped. And in the process, the person who has that power themselves want to be worshiped. And if you don't worship him, well, then you're in trouble. You are going to be taken off the list of him ever doing anything for you. I don't know that we think of it as idolatry. I know we think of idolatry and all that's from back in the day. That's way back, and the human race doesn't change. The heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Who can know it? Who can understand it? And again, it becomes something that we look at to worship, but we don't look at God to worship Him. And that is the last part. The only way to deal with all these things is to heal our relationship with God, to worship Him, to humble ourselves before Him. He rejects the prideful, but He receives the humble. Depending on which one of those you want, we need to work on that. Not to see ourselves. That's a warning that's given a couple of times in the New Testament, not to think more highly of ourselves than we ought to think. Why? Well, it'll get you in trouble. Also, not to think of yourself as being better than other people. That'll get you in trouble too. Because what you've done, or what we've done, is turn our attention away from who is better than God. We turn our attention away from Him and we turn it to another human being, maybe ourselves, maybe somebody else. But whoever it is, we turn our attention onto and see them as having the answer. Again, Adam and Eve did that. They fell for that lie of Satan and bought into that they could be just like God. They made themselves an idol. I can't imagine that Satan wasn't a happy camper after that day. He knew when they fell into sin like that, that the rest of the human race would follow. Take care of what you treat as valuable. There are a lot of really good things that we can make idols out of. Our home, that we want to be nice and always, everything operating smoothly. Maybe it's a car, maybe it's a job, maybe it's family themselves that we turn into idols and we think more about them than we do about God. We care more about them than we do about others and about God. We need to be very careful that we are not making some dictator our God, worshiping Him, listening to every word He says, believing everything He says, because that will get us into trouble. That will take us down a wrong path. That's a warning for us today. We were starting into a new section. We've gone through a section like this before. It's entitled Counterfeit Gods. We can make ourselves into a counterfeit God. We are not going to like the outcome if we don't recognize that sin, repent of it, and put ourselves back in the place of humility that we belong in. all you who are weary and heavy laden. That's a picture of being humble. We're weary, we're tired out, we're heavy laden. We realize we don't have the ability to see these things through and to deal with them in a way that makes them go to the side and so that we can be done with them. Again, always be, I think it's something we should probably ask the Lord every day. Am I prideful? Do I see myself as being better than others? Do I have better answers for things than you have for these things? We can make too much out of ourselves, and that does indeed become a huge spiritual problem. So search us, O Lord, see if there be any wicked way in us, and if there is, please help us. Deal with it, please. Blessings to you today on this Wednesday.